For this debate, we asked KGW viewers and Oregonian readers to submit their own questions for the candidates. Both candidates will answer these questions and each will get 60 seconds. Here is our first video from St. John's resident Dan Christensen.
This question is for both candidates. When do peaceful protests under our First Amendment become unlawful, dangerous, and violent? And when would you put a stop to this, making sure that we do go back to peaceful protests and not allowing our city to burn night after night? Thank you.
Ms. Iannarone, you're up first. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Christensen. I know how upsetting it is when there is unrest in your neighborhoods, especially when night after night we're seeing that protests about police brutality are met with increased police brutality, and how comfortable it can be when things like tear gas are administered and leak into the homes of residents in neighborhoods across the city. The answer to addressing the issue that's happening in our streets is to standing alongside these young Black Lives Matter leaders, meeting with them, talking with them, working with them on these issues, and making progress toward real reform. I condemn violence in all forms, I always have, but we must know that the answer to protests about police brutality cannot be increased police brutality.
I'll give you just a few more seconds, Ms. Iannarone, because I think he also wanted to know, where do you draw the line between peaceful protests and when they become into criminal activity?
We need equal enforcement of the law, regardless of who is engaging in criminal activity. And as Portland mayor, I will not be able to control what any individual protester is doing in the streets. My job will be making sure that the police do their jobs, making sure that they're held accountable for when they break procedure and even the law. That will be my job as Portland mayor, and ultimately we'll have a police force that's well equipped to enforce the law without racial bias in the future.
I have a follow-up for you. You've been called the Antifa mayor. Are you Antifa? And how would that guide how you would handle protests as mayor?
I love that Joe Biden answered this question before me, because being opposed to fascism in 2020 is not something to be embarrassed about. I have a bumper sticker from the beginning of my campaign that says #everyday anti-fascist. And what I have tried to do is normalize peaceful responses to the rise of white nationalism by organizing in my community. I organized this summer when the Proud Boys came to town. I organized a menstrual product drive for my neighbors residing in the Laurelwood shelter, because the answer to toxic masculinity is an inclusive, pluralist society where people of all backgrounds feel welcome.
Let me jump in here and just ask you, though, is being anti-fascist the same thing as being Antifa? Are you Antifa?
Antifa is not anything more than an idea. That's what Vice President Biden explained to us. It's people who oppose anti-fascism. And I strongly oppose anti-fascism, and I adopt and implement peaceful responses to that. And that is how I describe my position on this issue. Donald Trump has decided to make the enemy of groups of people who oppose his bullies and his militia forces. But I'm not going to be caught up in that rhetoric, because it's false. It creates division in our society. It creates division in our city, when what we need is every single Portlander faced in the right direction, saying hate is not welcome here.
Thank you. Mayor Wheeler, I'm going to read Mr. Christensen's question again for you. When do peaceful protests under our First Amendment become unlawful, dangerous, and violent? And when would you put a stop to this, making sure we go back to peaceful protests, not allowing our city to burn night after night?
All right, well, let's start with the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is our nation and our community are going through a national reckoning around racial justice and equity, and there's calls for common sense police reforms. And tens of thousands of Portlanders have taken to the streets, joining millions of people around the country, and we should support this. This is an important movement, it's an important time, and I certainly embrace it. On the other hand, there are people who've been engaged in nightly violence and criminal destruction. And leaders should say unequivocally that violence will not be condoned. And for those who are engaged in active violence or criminal destruction, regardless of their political beliefs, they should be held accountable for that violence and criminal destruction, period. And when it comes to police reform, of course, I support police reform. And that's one of the reasons that my colleagues and I on the City Council are referring an overhaul of our accountability and oversight mechanism to the November ballot. I support it. I want you to support it, because it'll help us hold cops accountable when they do things wrong.
I do have a follow-up for you, Mayor Wheeler. You've been called weak for your handling of the protests, while others have called you tear gas Ted. What's going to be different? How will things change if you're reelected?
Well, look, I get it from both sides. People saying the police are overbearing, people saying the police aren't engaging enough. And the bottom line here is you've got to draw the line carefully, because on one hand, we are going to support nonviolent and peaceful demonstration. We're going to support the First Amendment rights of people to gather and express their opinions, particularly during this time where people are really speaking out loudly for social justice and racial equity. But on the other hand, we have to do what we need to do for the police to be able to hold people accountable. That includes working with the district attorney, as we have, to hold those who are engaged in egregious acts of violence or vandalism accountable. It means we need to encourage the courts to work with us to not put into place restrictions that would impede our ability to hold people
Mayor,
accountable. And it's about building.
Thank you. We're going to go on to the next question.
Yeah, that's enough out of you, Ted. Welcome to the show. I wanted to start off with a clip that would just get everyone in the mood for tonight's show. There's a lot to talk about. You know, I think I pretty much roasted the vice presidential debate last night, and I was just kind of like scanning the news of today, and you know, I came across Andy No sent me some articles about what's going on in Portland, and then I came across, I'm like, dude, like the mayor, the Antifa mayor in Portland is having a debate with Ted Wheeler. I'm like, dude, I have to friggin' watch this. And sure enough, like you guys saw from the clips, ridiculous. I'm going to rail on this in just a few moments. Thank you guys for joining the show. This is the Lives Matter official podcast with Drew Hernandez and my son, Baby Yoda. Guys, just right off the bat, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to share this video, like this video. Just completely smash the like button. Let YouTube know that you actually like me and you want to continue to watch this and listen to this content. That's how you do it. And even leave a comment in the comment section just saying, I love Drew. just so YouTube knows, like, you guys actually like me or love me. So, I think that's the best way, because the algorithms can't deny that. Like, that matters right now in 2020. But make sure to subscribe and share this video, guys. It means a lot to me. And also, we do super chats at the end of every single show. I take the time to highlight who you are and your question at the end of the show. If you want to do it now, I already saw some super chats dropping right now in the comment section. We will get to it. If you'd like to ask something about the show tonight, whatever it is, even if you hate me and you, whatever, just, feed baby Yoda's belly. And we'll get into that. But let's just get into this. The presidential debate is pretty controversial. It's like meme gold, meme content for like the next 5 to 8 years, right? So is the vice presidential debate, especially with Donald Trump in the presidential debate with Joe Biden. It's just like it's like a reality TV star versus a gaffe machine. But like, did you even know that Portland was having debates with Ted Wheeler and the Antifa mayor? Now, about this Antifa mayor, she's obviously a friggin' hardcore SJW, and she's actually, photographs have been taken of her with a skirt on, taking, pictures with people. She has a skirt with communist murderous dictators on it. Like, you can Google this. Don't do it right now, but later you can, like, she literally wears clothing with pictures of like Stalin and Mao, communists that are responsible for more than 100 million murders to date in the name of communism and like, this is the Portland Antifa mayor that's running to replace what did the moderator call him? Weak Ted Wheeler. You've been called weak. You've been called tear gas Ted. Like, she says it all professionally, right? Like, that's what makes it hilarious, is because the moderator's super professional. Dude, that moderator should be moderating the presidential debates, because she's obviously not holding back. And she says she's even dropping what social media is saying about these elected and running for elected position officials. Like, that's just super savage. Whoever that is, I don't know who she is, but like, just listen to the absolute denial. If you guys watch that clip, she's literally being asked up front. It's a yes or no question. Are you Antifa? Like, are you with Antifa? And I find it interesting that she won't say yes, because she knows that there are still some level-minded people in Portland. I know them. I've met them. There's a lot of crazy people in Portland, even some of the residents. This is why I don't always jump to their defense, because when I'm reporting in Portland, the riots and the rioters are throwing Molotov cocktails at police officers. Sometimes, like most of the time, a lot of the locals will come out of their houses and they will start talking down on the police officers as if it's their fault. So like, sometimes it's kind of hard to sympathize with Portland locals, but not all of them, especially in the downtown areas and the areas where Antifa is rioting, in the residential areas and districts. But not all of you guys. I know I have a lot of viewers from Portland that hate this stuff, and I'm with you. But there's a lot of Portland locals that actually side with Antifa. It's clear. We have someone running for mayor that is clearly listen, this is what makes Antifa so complicated. No one disagrees that anti-fascism is wrong, right? Like, I am an anti-fascist in ideology. I oppose authoritarian regimes. I oppose any kind of fascist regime, any kind of authoritarian, totalitarian, dictatorial regime or singular figure or world leader or even a piece of policy. I am anti that. So, but this is what makes Antifa complicated, is they have an ideology that's misplaced. They have misplaced virtue. They have misplaced ideology. And this is what makes them complicated, because when you take to the media and you say, and you condemn Antifa, you literally sound like you're down with fascism. Because if you're going to come out and say, I am anti-Antifa, I am an anti-fascist, in ideology, you're pretty much saying that you are against anti-fascism, which would result, according to a law, which would literally result into you being a fascist, right? But this is what makes them complicated. They have a misplaced ideology that goes against predominantly Donald Trump and anyone that is right-wing. They act like fascism can only come from the right wing. That's just not historically true. It's come from both sides, literally. In history, hard left-leaning authoritarian regimes, fascist regimes, and also on the right. But the point I'm trying to make is this is what makes Antifa really complicated, is because if you come out and say, I am against Antifa, they turn around and say, and smear you in the media of being pro-fascist. But they have misplaced ideology. They have misplaced virtue. They believe that Donald Trump is Adolf Hitler 2.0 and this far right-wing Fourth Reich that is rising from the ashes of 1930s and 1940s Nazi Germany in the form of, American 2020 nationalism that has risen from the MAGA movement. They believe that that's what they believe. They literally believe that they're dealing with a fascist Fourth Reich in the form of Donald Trump and the Make America Great Again movement. Now, I know that sounds crazy because it is, but these people live in la la land and they deny reality as it is. So does it surprise you that, Antifa has this misplaced ideology? It's misplaced virtue, misplaced social justice. They're anarchists. So this is why when you see a woman like this, or I don't know what her pronouns, whatever, YouTube, this is why this mayor that has been proclaimed an Antifa mayor, because she even says herself, I have, this is what they do. This is why they say, like, if you ever hear Antifa say, be like water, they do certain things in the field. They do certain things at riots. They do certain things in the media that make it very hard to grab a hold of them. You can't just grab a hold of water, like in your hands. It runs, you have to scoop it. They say things like that. This is why, because it's very hard to pin her down, because nobody's going to say being an anti-fascist is bad. But the 2020 American version right now, that it has misplaced ideology and misplaced virtue, that thinks that Donald Trump is the leader of the Fourth Reich and the Make America Great Again movement is the revived Nazi SS, right? This is what they believe. It's misplaced. They cloak themselves under an ideology that is virtuous, right? Nobody's going to say that it's wrong to be an anti-fascist, but they hide behind it. And they have all of these misplaced, hard left communist, neo-communist, anarchist, just anti-private property, anti-capitalism, anti-just free market, the whole destruction of the West that is hard left, right? This is what they hide the term Antifa behind. That's why when she's on stage and she's running for mayor, she says, oh, yeah, I have a bumper sticker. It's like, oh, whoa, watch out. Watch out, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. She's got a sticker that says anti-fascist. She's going to change the world. It's like, how do you take these people seriously? But the point I'm trying to make is this is why she'll say, yes, she'll make a reference. I have a sticker that says anti-fascist or forever anti-fascist or whatever she said. She filibusters. She almost dodges the question, but she cloaks it with a bit of truth. But she won't come out and say, this is my hard left-leaning communist, socialist, anarchist ideology that's behind what the definition of an anti-fascist. Does that make sense to you guys? This is what they do, and it's very smart. This is how they get away with it, because they hide behind something that is virtuous. Nobody's going to sit here and say that it's wrong to be an anti-fascist. But their version of an anti-fascist right now is misplaced, and we are anti that. So it's interesting to hear her say that she sides with Joe Biden. It's the same old crap. And this is in Portland. If you live in Portland, I know I say this a lot, but she definitely depends on you to be an absolute moron. Because if you live in Portland, there is no peace, especially downtown. Riots. It's been more than 120 days, I think, of just straight riots. I've covered them. I've been there. I've been assaulted by Antifa. I've been threatened by Antifa. And by the way, if you're watching, I know exactly who you are, and I got you on body cam. So when that day comes, I'm ready to go, brother. I know who you are. I guess what I'm trying to say is this Antifa mayor is hiding behind the virtue of being a anti-fascist with a hard left ideology that is anarchist, neo-communist. But when she's pressed and she's asked, that's how she hides. See, if I was the moderator, I would have said, are you with Antifa? I have a bumper sticker that says anti-fascist forever, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing wrong with being an anti-fascist. I would have returned and said, okay, I understand that. That's the traditional definition of an anti-fascist. But are you an anarchist? Are you a neo-communist? Do you believe that we are facing a fascist regime in the form of Donald Trump and the Make America Great Again? You have to ask very specific questions to pinpoint and to literally pinpoint and submit who she really is. You see, but moderators don't do this. This is what I would do when I debate people on the street. You really got to dissect what's behind the term anti-fascist or Antifa. But she sits there and she denies reality. And it's the same talking point. She even points to Joe Biden and she says, I'm glad that Joe Biden answered this question before me. And she makes it very clear that Antifa is an idea, it's an ideology, it's dangerous rhetoric that divides the country further. It's like, of course it divides the country. Are you dumb? Since the death of George Floyd, the New York Post posted that the riots, BLM and Antifa have cost insurance companies close to around $2 billion in damage nationwide. You think that doesn't include Portland? Absolutely. All these blue cities, blue states. And she sits there and she acts like it's rhetoric that doesn't exist. Like it's a fairy tale. Like it's just rhetoric. Like she acts like it's just a political smear on the left that just causes further division. It causes division because it's real and people are pissed. Minorities, black people, Hispanic people, white people, all people that have been business owners. And I say have been. I've been in LA. I've watched it. I watched it in Kenosha. I've watched these people end people's and even Asian people in Santa Monica. One of the most dangerous looting I've seen to date was in Santa Monica. That was insane. Insane. I've seen minorities. I've seen people of color. Black Lives Matter, these rioters and Antifa have ended careers. And not just white people. Black people, Asians, Hispanics. So why is it divisive? If Donald Trump or a right-winger or if anybody comes out and says that Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization or that Black Lives Matter is a neo-communist organization, which in belief and in ideology has no respect for private property. This is why they're anarchists. They don't care whether you're white, black, Asian, Mexican, brown, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. If you are a capitalist and you believe in the free market and the American dream, which is the opposite of what these neo-communists believe, they're anti-free market, anti-private property, then you are a target. See, people don't understand this, and you have to pin this down when you're debating these people. This is why it's divisive, Miss Antifa Mayor. The reason why it's divisive is because Antifa, which is misplaced, which is hiding behind this hard left ideology that thinks that Donald Trump is Hitler 2.0 and anyone that supports him or supports America at this point is freaking part of the 21st century's SS. Just wearing the American flag. This is what they believe. You guys think that I'm just saying this because I have a bias. You know what my bias is formed off? It's formed based off of truth and based off of the literal experience that I have documented with Antifa and Black Lives Matter for the past 6 months. Everything I'm telling you is not something I heard from Ben Shapiro or something I heard from like a PragerU video. That's not how this works with moi. Everything I tell you about Black Lives Matter, Antifa, I have dealt with these people, literally. Face to face. I've marched with them undercover, obviously. But I give you guys this intel because I've experienced this stuff. So, people might say, "Oh, you're just I get accused all the time. Oh, you're a white supremacist." I'm like, "Dude, I'm brown. Come on, try again. Let's go." And it never ends. This is reality. The point I'm trying to make is it's divisive because it's reality. The reality is these people are anarchists. They're crazy. They want to burn America down. They want to usher in a neocom anarchist utopia, which in historical fact, if you study history, always ends in what? Bloodshed. People get thrown in gulags. They get killed. They become the fascists. So why is it divisive? It's divisive because people are pissed. Not because Donald Trump is a racist. Not because if you love America and even if you're a Democrat. Dude, if you love America and you are a Democrat, Black Lives Matter hates you. If you love America and you are a Democrat, this version of Antifa hates you. Like, we have to start designating Antifa as like a version, or there has to be something that goes alongside, because I mean this is what makes them successful in the media. Anti-fascist. I'm an anti-fascist. I am anti-fascism, but not this anti-American version that has misplaced virtue. Does that make sense to you guys? Right? So this is why she does this. And she acts like it's not real. She won't answer the question. It's a very simple question. It's either yes or it's no. And she can't say yes because she knows that there's moderates that don't think for themselves, that watch this stuff in Portland, right? She knows that there's moderates that support Ted Wheeler. Now I'm going to give you the political perspective. She knows that there are moderates that support Ted Wheeler. Dude, Ted Wheeler is extremely progressive, and he's not even cutting it for these people. This just shows you how radical BLM and Antifa really are. Ted Wheeler is not even enough. And I'm going to show you a clip right now. But this is why she won't say yes or no. Because if she says yes, she'll lose the moderates in Portland that really want nothing to do. Like I said, if you are a moderate Democrat and you love America and you love capitalism and the free market and you like to be an independent business owner, Antifa hates you. Black Lives Matter hates you. So she can't say yes that she is Antifa because she'll lose those moderate votes and she'll lose the election. Make sense? She can't say no for obvious reasons because Antifa will come, come knocking on her door. I take that back. Antifa will come attempting to burn down her house. They will find out where she lives. They will dox her and her family, and they will turn on her like that. I guarantee you, most of those kids that supported Ted Wheeler hate Ted Wheeler now because he's not the neocom anarchist that they want. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that's how politics work. They can't say yes. They can't say no because there are two voter bases that they have to appeal to. And even Antifa, just so you know, I have to assume that this woman, she wears clothing with radical communists, murderous communists, literally, guys. She's definitely a major hard leftist. She's the Antifa mayor. But then Ted Wheeler, dude, Ted Wheeler, dude. Like, the guy, I'm in contact with some police officers and their families in Portland. And some of the horror stories that they tell me are just, they're sad, number one. But they're horrific because obviously the way that it works in Portland, Ted Wheeler is basically like the police chief, or he's above the police chief. Like he calls the shots. So whenever you hear that, the PPB can't use tear gas, or they can't use any kind of force that goes beyond anything that's, seen non-excessive against rioters, not protesters. Notice how they keep using the word protesters. They don't talk about rioters. Protests are not happening in Portland. Rarely will you see one. A peaceful First Amendment classified protest, that's no. These are riots. These are riots. Notice how the guy that asked the question in the beginning said, the burning down of our businesses, the burning down of our communities, when is this going to stop? How much further do it? But then she turns around and she says, oh, I can't control what a protester will do, but I can control the police. Oh, yes, you can, and you do. And Ted Wheeler does the same thing. She calls these rioters protesters when they're not. These people throw Molotov cocktails. That's attempted murder at police officers. Do you guys remember, if you've been following me, do you remember I was in Portland and that black woman with the short hair, I caught a clip of her being pushed by the National Guard, the feds. And she made a comment and she said, I hope someone burns down, and I quote, this is a quote, YouTube. This was a member of Black Lives Matter, and I quote, told a member of the National Guard, she said, I hope someone burns down your entire police precinct while everyone's inside. Do you guys remember that? End quote. Remember that? I was the one that caught that. And by the way, that was even used in the Senate hearings with AG Barr. That's crazy, isn't it? But when she said that, a couple weeks later is when they started doing it. I don't know if you guys, from my perspective, everything makes sense. When she said that, Antifa started to attempt to burn down police precincts more frequently with them inside. If you listen to any of the Senate hearings, or if you even listen to some of the council meetings that the police are allowed to have on YouTube in Portland, they tell the horror stories. We'll be in the courthouse, we'll be in the police precinct, and these people start to attempt to burn it down while we're inside. That's attempted murder. That's not just arson. You guys understand that, right? So when they call them protesters, they're covering for people that attempt murder, for people that commit arson. Because Antifa will always say, all you care is about private property. I'm like, okay, well, you guys try to burn down buildings with people inside of them. And the reason why tear gas is dispersed, not because you guys are peacefully protesting. I've been there. Don't play this crap with me. I've watched this stuff with my own eyes in real time. You guys don't peacefully protest. They instigate, sometimes for hours. Hours. When they were rioting in front of the courthouse, you remember when CNN called Kenosha mostly peaceful and all this BS? Remember when they were rioting in front of the courthouse? They would wait in front of the courthouse, instigating, calling up police officers to a riot and a skirmish for hours. Hours. Any of the journalists, if they're honest with themselves, that were out there during that time, you know what I'm talking about. They were calling on police officers to jump off the top of the courthouse building to fall to their death and kill themselves. They were throwing Molotov cocktails, homemade IEDs at the courthouse with police officers inside. They initiated the riots. Antifa. What am I saying? What I'm saying is when you see people like this call them protesters, she's lying straight through her teeth. And she's banking on you to be stupid enough to believe it. It blows my mind. Like, it blows my mind that she actually, but this is what I say, some of the locals in Portland, they side with this stuff. They actually think it's law enforcement's fault.
that these riots are taking place. The riot, you guys know how Donald Trump was being blamed for the DHS rolling through Portland, and they were like the Nazi brown shirts, and they were abducting people off the streets, and it's like the SS all over. You guys remember all that crap? The riots were happening before that. That's why they were sent there. It doesn't take that high of an IQ to conclude that. The reason why the DHS was sent into Portland was because the riots were already happening. Like, come on, dude. But then the media comes and they say Donald Trump is Hitler, and Nancy Pelosi says that they're brown shirts, or she says that they're like, they're his stormtroopers or secret police. You guys remember that? Congressional candidates were saying things like that. And then now you got the Antifa mayor running cover for the rioters. I have hours of footage of these people attempting murder, throwing Molotov cocktails, rioting. They are not peaceful protests. If you believe that by now, and even if you live in Portland and you're still delusional, I have no sympathy for you. Like, literally. Literally. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I notice how Ted Wheeler, God bless his soul, dude, that guy, sometimes I feel bad for him, but then I don't. The point I was trying to make earlier is that Ted Wheeler is basically like the police chief. He calls the shots. And so when you see that when police come out and say we can't use the training, these police officers have specific riot training that they use to end riots like that. Okay? They use chemical agents, tear gas, pepper spray for riot control. There's nothing new about that. Riot control. Listen, if police officers were tear gassing people, and if police officers were shooting pepper balls and shooting tear gas canisters and pepper spraying and tackling people and arresting them for legitimately peaceful protesting, I would be the first one to say that's unconstitutional. That's fascist. That's a suppression of the First Amendment. The right of the people to peacefully assemble and to express their grievances to their local, federal government. I'd be the first one to come out and say, like, if that was literally happening, and I've seen it happen, and I've called it out on live streams. I've been reporting in real time where police officers have done unconstitutional things, even in Huntington Beach. We were all shot at by police with pepper balls. And it was literally a peaceful protest. I've experienced that. And I called it out on a live stream. I said, that's unconstitutional. That's wrong. Nobody here is rioting. Why are you guys doing this? And there were even Trump supporters that day. I remember that day in Huntington Beach. Even Trump supporters were getting shot at for doing nothing. So I'm not one to sit here and cover for police officers when they're breaking the law or they're being unconstitutional. I am dictated by truth. Period. That's how I view the world. The truth. So I'm not afraid to expose someone when they are in error, regardless of who you are. You're going to get it. Even me. And that's why God blessed me with a wife. Right? But anyways, what the point I'm trying to make is when the police officers say in Portland that we can't use tear gas or we can't use our riot training and we have our hands tied behind our back, I've had conversations with police officers that say we cannot do anything. We basically get told to stand down. And it's a lot of psychological abuse when officers have to stand there at riot lines and they're being cussed at, even some black officers, called all kind of racial slurs, derogatory terms, vile things, threats to their family. Even minority officers in Portland. I have this stuff on video. If you guys think I'm lying, just go look at my Twitter, Lives Matter Show, and scroll down all the way back to like August and July. There's a lot of psychological abuse that takes place with these officers. Imagine having to deal with that for 100 days straight. And you have nothing to do with police brutality. You might be a good, honest cop that would lay down his life for some of these kids if they were ever in a life or death situation. I know cops like that. that would give their lives for citizens. That's why they signed up. And these are cops that get caught in this crap. And they get called all kinds of vile things. They get called all kinds of crazy things. And they have to take that psychological abuse every single night in Portland. Threats to their family. And they can't do anything. They can't use tear gas. They can't use their riot training to contain a riot. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that comes from who? That comes from Ted Wheeler. That's who that comes from. And the point I'm trying to make is when you see him there saying, I condemn violence, he's lying. He's lying because he doesn't. Ted Wheeler is not enough because Ted Wheeler is extremely progressive. The dude's not conservative by any means necessary. Maybe financially, but socially, this dude is not conservative. He is a total progressive candidate. And Ted Wheeler, this is why, did you hear the moderator? You've been called weak. That was a reference to President Trump. And you've been called tear gas Ted. You know who called him that? Antifa. They chant that at the riots. They say F Ted Wheeler, tear gas Ted, because he went out there. He went out there and you know, it was a photo op. You know, when the courthouse was being sieged by Antifa. I remember that. And, you know, Ted Wheeler went out there and he made it look like he was crying like, I'm one of you. But not even Antifa bought it. They hate the guy. Poor guy, man. I don't feel sorry for him. Sometimes I do because I'm like, man, your job sucks. But it's because you're not doing it right. That's why I don't feel sorry for the guy. But I want to show you, like, if you don't believe me, okay? Ted Wheeler is not conservative, okay? Ted Wheeler hates Donald Trump. Antifa hates Ted Wheeler. He's not even enough. So I'm going to play a video real quick. I got the video. I'm going to play a video real quick just to show you how much they hate this guy. Let me pull this up real quick.
My name is Jeff Singer. The mask has nothing to do with hiding my identity. I'm taking away my individuality. I represent a mass of humanity who are tired, hungry, poor, and huddling from tyrants like you, Mayor Wheeler. Yeah. I am so done coming here and using big words. I haven't even done it that many times, but I am done. I am done watching you look at me with that look. You're talking about sanctuary? We know it is a pointless term. It means not a goddamn thing. I have been up all night. Literally, I have not slept, stewing over the fucking fact that one of your pigs shot a boy point blank range with a fucking assault rifle, Wheeler. This is out of control. It's ridiculous. It's over. Sanctuary? What sanctuary? Sanctuary from the rivers of fucking blood running our goddamn streets? Sanctuary from the fucking cold? It's over. There's no more asking you for a goddamn thing. Fuck you.
Fuck you, Ted.
You are a cap.
Shit, just like Charlie No Hales.
And you may all interrupt my testimony as much as you like. As much as you like. Because your righteous indignation fills me with a fire, comrades. I will tell you what, Wheeler. What do you think this is? It's a fucking gas mask. My own capital, my own labor. I had to put into this, protect myself from your violent and oppressive paramilitary organization that only thirsts for blood. You are a capitalist, a treasurer, a statist, a tyrant. You are nothing to me. You are just scum. This is nothing about sanctuary. This is a chew out. To let you know, this is little Beirut, Mayor Wheeler. This is the city of roses, and it has thorns. They're standing behind me. There's people getting real fucking done with fucking around with your cops in the street. You are laying the fucking seeds for an insurrection on the record, Jeff Singer. It is not a threat. It is a fact, and it's a fact. You are building towards something that's going to blow. Go fuck yourself, you fucking pig.
Thank you. Got it. Thank
you. All right, like, okay, so that was a clip from like 2017, I believe, the date, or recent. I think it was a little. Either way, these people hate Ted Wheeler, dude. Like they don't see him
as the political candidate that they want because he's not a neo-communist and he's not an anarchist. And then you have a dude's literally in black bloc. Sounds like he's yelling at his stepdad. I'm so mad at you, Dad. I can't believe I just called you Dad. I can't believe this. I've been up all night listening to you have sex with my mom. And I can't handle it anymore. You see, Ted, this is a gas mask. An effing gas mask, Dad. You see this, Dad? These are earplugs, Dad. I have to wear these earplugs when you're having sex with my mom in the other room. That's how I, that's how I view these people. They're just like these children that are complaining over stuff that's just like, it's like irrelevant. Like you guys just sit there and cry and they're like, F you, Ted, F you, Ted. And that's what you hear at the riots. That's what you hear. They hate Ted Wheeler. Ted Wheeler's on his way out. I wouldn't be surprised if the Antifa mayor wins this election. The Portland mayor 2020 election. I think they had a debate tonight too. I kind of want to watch the footage, but that's enough with them. I wanted to get to, let me set this up real quick. I wanted to get to an article that Andy Ngo, just to give you guys a little bit of insight on the injustice that's happening with these so-called protesters in Portland. They're rioters. They're not protesters. They commit violent crime, and it's extremely injustice. Now, remember in that video, what were both of those candidates both saying? We condemn violence, justice this, justice that. The rule of law should be upheld with the police on both sides, and their rights should be intact. They both kind of call for justice. Now, is this justice? Give me 1 second, and I will get this up for you guys. All right, let's get it up. So this is an article from the Post Millennial, written by Andy Ngo and Mia Cathell. Look at this. This is Antifa right here. See these pictures? This is Antifa. And the guy that threatened me is actually in one of these slides. Who is he? Someday you will find out. I have him on body cam footage threatening my life. So if that day ever comes, sir, we know exactly who you are. That's the funny thing, is a lot of these kids don't realize that their actions are always recorded. But look at these poor souls, you know? It's just sad, dude. It's just sad. Like, this guy got his lip busted up. They all look like they're from, like, Green Day. You know what I mean? Like, that early punk rock scene in, like, the early 90s where everyone starts dyeing their hair, which is cool. Whatever. I dyed my hair when I was a kid. And now even all the SoundCloud rappers, it's like it's made a comeback, but now Antifa is trying to hijack that. Is this like a fashion statement? What is this? What is this? This is what I'm talking about, dude. This is just like mentally ill, dude. Like, what was she thinking or he thinking? It's like, I'm just going to dye my hair purple. Looks nice, looks cool. And then I'm going to take a razor and just shave it right down the middle halfway. And then I'm going to go out and riot. I don't know, dude. I really don't know. Anyways, Andy Ngo of the Post Millennial. And by the way, these people hate Andy. They want to kill him, literally. If you know who Andy Ngo is, make sure to support him. They call him a white supremacist. They call him a fascist, which is absurd. He's Vietnamese. It just makes no sense. This is what they do. And I'll explain to you why. I'll explain to you why they smear minorities as being white supremacists and Nazis. There's a reason why, and it's for media purposes. I'll break that down in a little bit. So let's read this. The Multnomah County District, it's a hard word to pronounce, attorney, the DA, released data related to the Portland protests and riot arrests, revealing that most cases, well, the title of the article is Portland DA Rejects Over 540 Riot-Related Cases in Interest of Justice. I'll teach you guys what that means right now. Portland DA rejects over 540 riot-related cases in interest of justice. What does that mean? Let's continue to read. The new mass demonstration protest case, it's hilarious how that's what it's called. Rioters, bro. These people are just covered to the T. Is the most complete data to date made available to the public regarding the Black Lives Matter Antifa riots and protests that have convulsed Portland since May. The overview documents filing status dropped cases, the reasons cases weren't pursued, nature of crimes, this is all public information, and demographic information. Between May 29th and October 5th, that's 2020, there were 974 cases brought to the MCDA's office by Portland police. So the Portland police doing their jobs, this is a ton of paperwork, you guys. This has to be hours of paperwork from the PPB, which gets transferred to the DA, the MCDA's office, right? They got to do their job for prosecutions. Many involve repeat offenders, though the number isn't published in the report. Nearly 70% of the cases were dropped. 543 cases were rejected in the interest of justice. I'll explain what that means. 44 cases due to the insufficient evidence. So if there are cases, you might be thinking, okay, out of 974, maybe there were some that, people got caught in the crossfire. They just got arrested for no reason. Okay, whatever. That was maybe about 44 right there. 44, insufficient evidence. 12 cases due to a legal impediment, and 67 cases are pending investigative follow-up from law enforcement. But what's concerning are the 543 cases that were rejected in the interest of justice. What does that mean? I will teach you in just a moment. Let's continue Andy's article. He does such a great job. Andy No does really hard work. If you guys ever see his Twitter and you see Andy No posting all these pictures, mugshots with all the criminal reports and rap sheets, that's very extensive work. That's not easy to do. It takes a lot of man hours. It's a lot. That takes a lot. So if you ever see that, that's not doxing. This is public information. That's not doxing. You commit a crime, your information becomes public. That's not doxing. Doxing is if you find a private citizen's private information and you release it to the internet. Your information is made public when you commit a crime. That's how the justice system works. So make sure to support Andy No. I say that. A majority of cases involve suspects who are white and male. Oh, wow, that's a freaking shocker. Constituting 77 and 67% respectively. 83% of the suspects are young adults aged 18 to 35. Juvenile data is not included. They're out there too. The MCDA says its dashboard will be updated weekly by authorities as crime records are entered into the district attorney's case management system. Transparency in the work we do is a keystone to my administration. Oh, God, save it, bro. Literally, said the DA Mike Schmidt in a press release. Schmidt won in a landslide election as a progressive candidate. After coming into office, he announced a policy of decriminalizing a list of protest and riot offenses. Oh, there you go. That's how you stay in office in Portland. You protect the rioters and the Antifa and the anarchists and the neo-communists. He announced a policy of decriminalizing a list of protest and riot offenses for those charged at this year's BLM and Antifa demonstrations. Imagine being a police officer and you've had your life threatened. And here's your DA. You give your police reports to the DA, and that's the response. Let him off the hook. What a shame. Literally a shame. That's the end of that article. Now, I want to address this. We'll keep this up. Keep this up. Keep it. What is interest of justice? 540 riot-related cases were related riot-related cases were rejected over interest of justice. What does this mean? I'll give you guys a good legal term. Interest of justice law and legal definition. The interest of justice refers generally to the cause of fairness and equity used. Let me highlight that for you, just so you guys can see this. The interest of justice refers generally to the cause of fairness and equity used when a judge has discretion to making a ruling in a particular situation. It is a term that is very subjective. That means that the opinion is in the eye of the beholder. And interpretation will vary based upon the facts and people involved. So what this means is 540 riot-related cases in Portland were rejected over the interest of justice, which means what? Which means a biased perception of what someone thought they should do. What does that mean? We just do whatever we want. That's what that means. If someone throw a Molotov cocktail at a police officer, if we don't think there's enough evidence, reject it. That's what that means. It's subjective. The whoever's in control of deciding these cases, is it the DA, a judge, whatever system's in place in Portland, someone is literally with a bias, subjectively saying, we reject these. Now, the legal definition is based upon the facts, but it doesn't look like there's any facts involved in this. Because the fact is, the majority of these people are rioters, and the majority of these people are committing riot-related crimes. So it makes no sense that 540 riot-related cases were brought down to someone deciding, okay, their own subjective opinion. It's basically just a subjective opinion. They just do whatever we want. So if you have a DA, or if you have a judge, if you have someone that sympathizes with the anarchists, if they're bought off, if they're paid off, does it make sense to you that this many cases, like as if they never happened? If I'm a police officer and my life has been threatened and one of those cases had to do with me, what a shame. You are not safe. This is why reporting in Portland is really dangerous, guys, because the police officers, there are many police officers in Portland that are good, honest, and want to do the right thing. Are there crappy police officers in Portland? Of course. Of course there are. Just like every other police precinct in the world. There's bad apples everywhere, just like there's bad firefighters, just like there's bad attorneys, there's bad judges. Everywhere you look, humanity's fallen. Nobody's perfect. There are evil people in positions of power, even Hollywood. Is that a shocker? Is it a shocker that there are Hollywood pedophiles? No, it's not. What am I saying? What I'm saying is there are good cops that I have to assume that out of these 540 riot-related cases that are putting in hours of paperwork, that are doing their jobs, giving these cases to the DA, and the DA just tosses them. Is that justice? See, when I play you that interview in the beginning, when you hear these so-called mayors saying that they want justice, that's not justice. Because justice should never be biased to political ideology. Justice is what is honorable, what is true, what is reverend. What is justice? Liberty and what? Justice for all. Getting your due truth. Righteousness being upheld in any situation. Justice doesn't know skin color. Justice doesn't know bias. Justice knows truth. So if truth is not being applied to these cases, this is why the legal definition includes what? Facts? This is not justice. And these mayors are liars when they say they want justice. No, they only want justice for a political ideology in the form of what they claim justice is. There's no relative theory when it comes to what's just. What does that mean? with postmodern thinking where whatever's true in my mind is true for me and it may not be true for you. That's not a smart way to think in life. And when it comes to the legal system, you need truth. You need absolute truth. Absolute truth. Or else you will not get absolute righteous justice or righteousness upheld in the court of law, at school, wherever you look. What am I saying? What I'm saying is these people are lying. They don't want justice. Because if they did, they would want justice even for their police officers that are good, that aren't crooked. They would want justice for their officers, but they can't. Because Antifa takes to the streets every single night and they scream ACAB. All cops are bastards every single night. All cops. They say all cops. Even black cops. That's including black cops. That's including Hispanic cops. That's including Asian cops. All cops. That's their slogan. And even good cops. Because these people don't believe in the rule of law. They don't. They believe that any form of law and order is fascist, and that's not true. Law and order is needed for a civilization to progress in one way, but law and order is needed for a civilization to even survive. Because if law and order isn't installed in a civilization, what do you have? Anarchy, mass murder, you have chaos. And a civilization cannot last living in chaos. Civil wars, wars against each other, violence. Whenever there's a lack of law and order, violence. Violence is the result. And this is why we're seeing violence begin to brew in the United States of America, because law and order, whether you're Republican and Democrat, why don't you want law and order? I don't want a fascist regime. I don't want cops knocking on my door every single day of my life. Law and order is instituted from a biblical theological perspective. Law and order is instituted, police officers, military, all of that. From a biblical perspective, law and order is instituted for the purpose of upholding righteous law. Upholding righteous law. The second theological perspective of what law and order is for humanity is the protection of the citizens or the occupants of a society. Number one, to uphold righteous law and to protect its occupying citizens. This is why God has given us law and order, law enforcement in the form of police officers. You could read this in Romans chapter 13. This is from, I'm giving you a theological perspective, but our Constitution was derived about 27% of the Bible, the Old Testament, if you don't know that by now. A lot of the stuff that we have in our the judicial system, the court system, the Supreme Court, our legislative, executive branch, our different branches of government, a lot of that came from the book of Deuteronomy. This is why a lot of people say America is a Judeo-Christian nation. Now, what that means is it's that has a lot to do with our legal systems in America that have been derived from when God gave order for Israel when 3 million people exodus out of Egypt. They were a civilization. They were their own people. And so God gave them law and order. Why? So that law and order can be upheld and for the protection of what? The people. How are you going to govern 3 million people? You think Moses could have done that on his own? No. He even claims it. The dude wanted to throw in the towel. Imagine having to govern 3 million people, bro. By yourself. This is why God gave law and order. Because you're not going to be able to handle... but this is what makes the Constitutional beautiful as well. Because the Constitution isn't a human being. Law and order isn't human. Humans, I'm going to give you a more theological perspective. Humans have a faulty nature, right? We're not perfect. We make bad mistakes. We could potentially be evil. We can potentially become dictators. Humans have evil tendencies. So this is why we have a constitutional republic in America. This timeless document, humans are in subjection to it. Our leaders are in subjection to it. Donald Trump, the executive, judicial, legislative, local, federal, law enforcement, citizens are in subjection to what? Donald Trump? A faulty human? No. That's fascism. That's a dictatorship. Who and what are we into subjection to? Even as Christians. The law of the land, which is what? The Constitution of the United States of America. And that doesn't change. The Constitution isn't going to wake up one day and decide to be Republican. The Constitution isn't going to wake up one day and decide to be Democrat. The Constitution isn't going to decide to wake up one day and be a white nationalist. What am I saying? What I'm saying, and obviously there's amendments that need to be made. That's what amendments are, right? Slavery has been abolished. The right for women to vote has been implemented. There's tons of amendments that need to be, because humans wrote the Constitution. So there's constantly, what I'm trying to say is America is different in this way, and this is the beauty of it. This is why we don't have to fear an authoritarian regime, and this is why Antifa and the neo-communists want to do away with the Constitution, because it protects everyday citizens. The point I'm trying to make is there's no truth with these people. And in our Constitution are enshrined truths, right? Let these truths be what? Evident, right? So truth and justice for all has to be at the forefront of the conversation, because without law and order, we have violence, we have chaos. That's a historical fact. Who wants to live like that? Nobody. And I don't want to live in a far right-wing fascist regime either. I don't want to be dictated by a human being. This is why America is so beautiful, because we have a constitutional republic, and it's a beauty. And that's what makes us different than the rest of the world. So I am going to get into a few super chats, just to give you guys some substance, you know. Let me take some of your super chats. If you guys have any super chats that you would like me to get to, I will be getting to them now. Let me just pull up my laptop real quick. And shout out to the child, right? He just chills, dude. He loves being on the show. Look at him. He's just there. He's such a good child. He's got quite the appetite, though. Let me get to some of these guys. How's my son? I just saw someone comment. He's good. He's hungry, actually. He's hungry. He eats like freaking 5 times a day. It's freaking insane. I don't know how. Maybe it's his species. I don't know. Green lives matter. Baby Yoda matters. Green lives matter. That's all I care about right now. I'm just kidding, dude. Obviously. The name of this show. All right, pulling this up, guys. If you guys have any super chats, drop it right now before I get out of here. I see we got a couple right here, so let me get to them. Pulling them up on my laptop. Multiple computers for this show. All righty. All right, 7th. Let me see where this starts real quick. Here we go. All right, have Tom. You're a frequent super chat giver, man. Or gal. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. $10 super chat. Whose rhetoric is the very similar to execute a man, we don't need proof of his guilt. We only need proof that it's necessary to execute him. It's that simple. Okay. And then a $5 super chat. Sarah is just a puppet candidate. Oh, for sure. Yeah, dude. She's an Antifa neo-communist puppet. They're insurrectionists. That's what these people are. They're insurrectionists. They infiltrate our government and they subvert. They're subverters and they're good at it. They're very good at it. That's exactly what she is. That's such a great comment. And have to home again. The mob have upped their paranoia with who is filming to where they are now beating up their own press. Yes. Actually, let me talk about that. Also, hire Antifa groups making breakdown videos pointing out Kaylin and Thomas. Your thoughts? I'll give you my thoughts right now. It's nothing new. It's nothing new. They've done this with Andy No. They've done it with me. They've done it with Elijah, slightly offensive. They've done it with some of my friends that aren't conservatives, that are not conservatives. They take to Twitter, they dox you, they put out your public information. Kaylin and Thomas are just, I guess it's just their turn. You know, it's your turn. We've all been through this and gone through this. But what I want to point out is Antifa, this version of Antifa, they will dox journalists. They will put out their public information. They've done this to all of us. They will put out your public information. They will post screenshots of you, post videos of you. There's two purposes, and I wanted to address this earlier. Why does Antifa call Drew a white supremacist? Why? We all know that's stupid. I'm not white. Okay? Why do they call Drew a dangerous right-wing Nazi fascist? Why? Why will they say that? Why are they going after Kaylin? Why are they going after Thomas? Why have they gone after Elijah? Why did they smear Andy No, a Vietnamese guy who's gay, of being a right-wing propagandist Nazi fascist? Why? I'll tell you why. Two reasons. The first reason they do this is because they want someone to handle you when they find you, so they can identify you in the field. Someone will either physically assault you, or if you're lucky, they'll suppress you. They'll cover your camera. They'll kick you out of the demonstration, or they'll kick you out of the riot, and they'll forcefully remove you. Or they'll physically assault you. That happened to Taylor, Baby Lives Matter guy. They physically assaulted that kid. They busted his lip wide open just for reporting. And I've watched Black Lives Matter suppress the Daily Caller. A lot of people in the Daily Caller aren't even conservatives. They're just reporters. They just report. I've seen Black Lives Matter in Washington, D.C. Suppress their First Amendment right of the free press just to record a public demonstration in the middle of a street. But why? The first reason, because they put out your information because they want to take care of you. They will do something to you. Second reason, the second reason why they'll call someone like me a white supremacist is because there are hard left-leaning journalists in the media and reporters. There are hard left journalists in the media that will take whatever they're saying on social media. Like there's this, like they'll make giant threads with all these pictures of you and all these videos of you saying you were here and you were doing more than recording, insinuating that you were a part of the riot just to get clout and get the footage. They'll post pictures of you saying, this individual is a far right-wing propagandist and their videos cause their followers to get violent and want to kill people. Why do they do that? Because they want to get you completely wiped off the internet. Because a far left-leaning journalist will take a thread like that, write an article about it, and show it to Twitter as a reason, or YouTube, as a reason as to why you're dangerous and can't be online. Because what you post online can get someone really hurt in the real world. That's how Twitter works. That's how YouTube works. If you say something or you post something that puts someone's life in danger in the real world, they'll axe you. That's why Antifa will call someone like Drew Hernandez a white supremacist, because they want some left-leaning journalist to take everything they're saying in a thread, write an article about it, take it to Twitter, and they don't verify it. They won't go and see that my last name's Hernandez and that I'm Hispanic and that I'm half Spaniard and half Mexican. They'll just believe it. And they'll get rid of Drew like that. That's how it works. I know it sounds stupid. It's like they call you a white supremacist. Yeah, but that's why they do it. They're very smart. They're very smart. And you can't underestimate some of their tactics. Let me get to another super chat. Have Tome, thank you. Thank you for all those super chats, man. You have some good stuff. You had one more. The arrest to conviction rate inverted the exact year Ted Wheeler started first term in 2016. Yeah, the guy, he's trying to appeal to the mob, and there's no appealing to the mob. People don't understand this. Ted Wheeler probably thought that he could appeal to these neo-communists and anarchists. And a lot of journalists think this. I tell my friends all the time, there's no middle ground with these people. Stop thinking that you could be somewhat neutral with Antifa when you're out on the field, or you're somewhat neutral Antifa as a politician. There's no middle ground with them. It's black or white, no pun intended. What am I saying? These people, if you are a progressive Ted Wheeler, that means you are not a neo-communist anarchist, and you still have ties to the American system, even a progressive Ted Wheeler. That makes you an enemy. So if you're a journalist or a reporter that's in the middle, or even a Democrat, you're still a part of the American system. If you are not an anarchist, neo-communist, their version of an anti-fascist, you are the enemy. Or you are not clearly a neo-communist Black Lives Matter supporter. You are the enemy. I know you guys think I'm being like maybe a little sensationalized, but dude, this is my career. I deal with these people. This is what I do. This is what they do. I document this stuff. This is why Ted Wheeler's not enough. There's no middle ground. Stop thinking there's no middle ground. I'll give you more evidence. You guys saw the other day on the podcast when I was in Washington, D.C., Antifa and Black Lives Matter rolls through a gay neighborhood and starts assaulting homosexuals. And some of the homosexuals are crying, saying, "We are with you. We are with you." Just totally disillusioned. No, you're not. No, you're not. You might be progressive, but if you are not a neo-communist, anti-fascist, anarchist, you're the enemy, period. Let me see if I could get any more super chats. We got one right here. Let me refresh this real quick because we got some new ones. Let me see. Souls of Lax. Thank you. $50 super chat. I appreciate that. My son appreciates that. That will definitely help his belly. I'm just kidding. All of these super chats, even if you guys give a one-time donation on Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or support me monthly on Patreon, the links are below. Everything that's given you guys goes directly into the system, into this machine of Lives Matter, for the reporting, for the podcast, for the man on the street. Just so you guys know, that's it goes directly into that. So I thank you. Soul of Lax. Hey, keep up the good work. It's appreciated. Stay safe out there, man. Let me see. Hey, keep up the good work. It's appreciated. Stay safe out there, man. There's a lot of crazy people out there. Yeah. And this Antifa mayor is one of them. You know, people always ask me, are you ever scared when you're reporting? Are you ever scared when you're out there reporting on Antifa? And I'm like, the thing that's always on the back of my mind is a lot of these Antifa, you catch them one-on-one, they'll never challenge you one-on-one. Some of them are pretty big, but they get bold when they're in groups, and then they get violent and they start, reaching for weapons and melee weapons. And that's always a concern. But I always tell people what concerns me the most is, with that super chat that I just read, there are a lot of crazy people out there. I take that literal. There are tons of mentally ill people at these riots. I've seen them. I document them. Like, genuinely mentally ill, schizophrenic, and they do, a lot of them are doing some seriously violent things out. That's what I am genuinely scared of. Is some literally mentally ill person that because this is no disrespect. A lot of mentally ill people legally retarded people are very gullible, right? They're easily manipulated. So if you have some of these Antifa kids that may not be aware that someone might be mentally retarded or might be mentally ill, you know, is chanting these crazy things, someone that may be lacking, you know, may not be able to dissect what's being said, and it causes them to take violent action. I've seen it. I've literally seen it. That's what scares me. If you get a mentally ill person that's not thinking clearly and that is influenced by some of these Antifa radicals to do something extremely violent, that's so when I see you say there's crazy people, trust me, I know exactly what you're talking about. Alrighty, JVS H-Town, thank you for the super chat with the sticker. I thank you so much. Thank you for the support. Thank you guys. And Art T, cheers to you as well. $10 super chat. Thank you, Art T. Cheers to you as well. Have Tone, we got another one. Dude, thank you, man. I really do appreciate it. You have no idea. I appreciate it more than you know. We got one more right here with $10 super chat. One of the favorite quotes: "We are so much the victims of abstraction that with the earth in flames, we can barely rouse ourselves to wander across the room and look at the thermostat." Terrence McKenna. And yes, they actually, again, Have Tone, they actually tell each other that Andy Ngo is a CIA plant. I just got to say this about Andy real quick, guys. Like, Andy Ngo is one of the sweetest dudes I've ever met. Very kind, very giving. It is a damn shame. It is a damn shame that Andy is so attacked. He's so smeared in the media. They make him look, they paint him to be this monster. It's obviously a damn shame that he got attacked. But, you know, they make Andy Ngo look out to be like this freaking, like, as if he's like freaking Joseph Goebbels. You guys know who Joseph Goebbels is, right? Like the famous propagandist in the Nazi Third Reich. Like they literally make him out to be like he's Joseph Goebbels, like this far right-wing propagandist. And it's ridiculous. But I guess what I'm trying to say is Andy is a sweetheart. Make sure to pre-order his book. Support him. He loves his family very much. And the stuff that he has to deal with is just, it's absurd. It's absurd. So make sure to always show Andy Ngo love. Go follow him. And if we have any more super chats, make sure to drop it right now before I leave the building. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Always make sure to check up on your subscription to me. And also, I'm part of the Tatum Report team. So the TatumReport.com link is below. There is a lot. I can't announce what's coming with me and Tatum, but you're going to like it. Trust me. There's a lot coming with me and my boss, Brandon Tatum, but there's a lot of real-time reporting that's coming as well. A lot of stuff coming up. I'll be in the field reporting. You can watch all my real-time reporting on Twitter. Lives Matter Show. The links are below. So make sure to follow me. And also follow me on Instagram, Lives Matter Official, and Parler Lives Matter Official. And also, obviously, Facebook as well. But make sure to check out the TatumReport.com. The link is in the description below. All my exclusives will be posted on there. All my exclusives of my real-time reporting. Man, I can't wait to tell you guys what's coming. But a lot of great stuff is coming with me in the Tatum Report. So it'll be coming within the next few weeks. So, and Have Tome, thank you. You flippin' rock and much respect. I love you guys very much. Make sure to subscribe. Share this video with everyone. Share this video with everyone. You guys are the Real News Gang. I love you very much. And until next time, America, I will see you on the other side.